There are a lot of corrupt governments south of the United States border who make things really hard on their citizens, and they have no problem sending their people to the U.S. to force our government, aka you, the taxpayers, to take care of them. But Rusty Humphries of the Washington Times is fed up, and he says he wants the Moocher nations to fix their own dang problems. Rusty, welcome back to Smart Life. Good to have you.
Thank you very much, Dr. Gina. I mean, you're absolutely right. Listen, I went and did a little research and found out the nations, the wealthiest nations based on GDP. The United States, they were number one. Mexico comes in at number 10. Right below that is Italy, South Korea, and then Canada coming in at number 13. Mexico is not this poor nation. It's a leftist nation, and nations that use socialism, it just doesn't work. And so why is it that we have to take on all of the problems from Mexico so a bunch of billionaires and corrupt politicians can leave the sweet life?
That's a great analysis there, Rusty, and I bet most people didn't know that, because even part of that came as a big surprise to me. I want to put this all together in a package. We just talked to Judson Phillips. He told us about of course, the amazing race that happened in Virginia this week. And that was essentially, many say, a referendum on amnesty. And my husband is in our nation's capital today, and he's been sending me videos today of these very violent looking outbursts happening with throngs of people around the Capitol today, because it is the illegals demanding their amnesty, demanding their welfare money, demanding the things they want from the U.S. taxpayers, and very angry about what happened in the race in Virginia. How do you view all of this? I mean, something is changing. We were buying 6 months ago. We were buying into the argument that the GOP can't win without amnesty, but it looks like all that has really been turned on its head. What say you?
Well, first of all, Ronald Reagan was wrong about something. How about that? I'm actually going to say it. Well, Ronald Reagan came out and said, you know what, we should open up our arms and in our borders to people from South America, because they share a common value, family values and things. And if we just taught them more about conservatism, they'd be conservative. He's wrong. And he's wrong because Central American, Latin American countries tend to be socialist and leftist countries. It's just built in. And so they believe that we owe them food, clothing, shelter, a great education for their children. And of course, because they're children, they should be citizens. So I'm sorry, we cannot take on the world's problems. I'm sure they're wonderful people. I'm sure that they can contribute some, but we're in the worst economy since the Great Depression.
Yeah.
We can't afford it right now.
And in some ways, it really isn't compassionate. I want to delineate, though, in case people aren't aware, we're not talking about the same old illegal immigration we've been battling forever. This is brand new. This is where basically word has been sent out to many of these South American, Central American countries that if you bring your children here, the United States will welcome you with open arms. I read an article in the LA Times describing this woman who came here from Guatemala, and she waved to the helicopters because she believed they were going to welcome her and give her a free house and free clothes and all of these things, because that's the way rumors go, and that's what's been communicated to these people. When they get here, Rusty, by the thousands, they're being set up in bus stations, and you've described some of the horrendous living situations that these people are in at this point, because there's such a glut that basically we don't have the staff to handle it. Tell us about those living conditions.
Yeah, we certainly can't do that. But one of the reasons why they heard these things is because that's what the president's been telling them. He hasn't told them there's free housing and things, but he said, well, if Congress doesn't pass the DREAM Act, I'm going to do it anyway. If Congress doesn't agree with me, I'm going to do it anyway. And so they're saying, hey, Obama's on our side. Let's go in there and get in while the getting's good. As for conditions, I live about 10 miles from the Ground Zero Greyhound bus station, which is right by Phoenix Sky Harbor Airport, where they're dropping all of these illegals off at. And I actually went to a different bus station, and I asked one of the workers, what's going on there? And she said, well, all I can tell you is if you don't have ID, you better not go down there. They're rounding them up. And, in other states, they've got children that are coming there unaccompanied. They're putting them in jail cells in Texas. The cells are just jam-packed full because, like you said, people are rushing across the border right now because they're trying to get here in time to get caught up into the DREAM Act and other sweet deals that they think are coming their way.
And in some situations, it's really become a problem. I know a bunch of pictures were released of these children being housed in a jail cell, and there's a lot of trouble being made over that. I mean, isn't it the case that probably realistically what will happen is Obama will just hire more federal workers on the dole of the taxpayers and go ahead and process these people and give them what they want?
Of course, this is getting ready for 2016 and more Democrat votes.
Votes.
That is what this is about. And people, there's a reason why people treat them like they're voters. It's because they are voters. This is why we don't want to have driver's licenses or IDs being shown. The truth is, when I say that, I'm called a racist. No, this is not racist, and this is not hatred. What this is standing up for the responsibilities that we have as citizens of the United States to leave our posterity, our children, a country where we have a strong economy, where they can get a job, and where we can share a common language. This is part of what our responsibility is in the leaders of this nation today.
Isn't this a betrayal of sorts, Rusty? I mean, I look at the way you describe Gitmo, your experiences personally with Gitmo, and the way those prisoners supposedly are treated. I look at the way that we're rolling out the red carpet for illegals from all over the world, and yet our veterans go without some of the most basic needs and are literally dying miserable deaths because we haven't had the funding. And it looks like this administration kind of goes, oh, whoops, sorry, we just don't have the money. We're kind of broke, and at the same time, we can afford to take on all these new voters for them. Where's the real racism here, Rusty?
Well, this president seems to think that if you do the right thing, you pay your taxes, you work very hard, you should be punished. If you don't, if you're a moocher, if you're a leecher, you should be taken care of. And this goes, not just with the VA. It goes for you and me as we're working. Food stamps. There's all kinds of programs that penalize people that work hard and benefit those who choose not to. So we have an upside down Alice in Wonderland administration right now that is doing everything they can to destroy this economy in the country that we live in.
Well, it looks like it's not getting any better. How many leaders?
I actually heard somebody on television say that the president might be insane or have some mental problems. I think that person may have been right.
Who would go say a thing like that? What are the numbers we're talking about in terms of this new influx?
The latest I heard was about 200,000 over the past 6 months. And, that doesn't sound like that much, but I don't know. How many is that? What city might that equate to? I know you're in San Diego. I don't know how many people live in San Diego. It's about a little over 1 million or something like that. 200,000 is a lot of people. Think of the Super Bowl. The Super Bowl is going to hold 70,000. So you're talking almost 3.5 Super Bowls. I mean, that's a lot of people in just 6 months, and that's the numbers that they are telling us. I don't know what the real number is because whenever it comes to this administration, numbers are never accurate.
It's interesting because you mentioned the numbers of people coming, and I have to tell you that I heard rumors from people who were poll watchers in the last California election that we had, where Tim Donnelly, basically a Tea Party candidate, took on a very establishment candidate on the side of the GOP, as you probably are familiar, Kashkari, who voted for Obama and who was one of the creators of TARP. And people told me that they bust in these immigrants and let them off at polling places and went ahead and had them take provisional ballots. Now, I have no proof of this. This is what I was told by folks who were poll watchers at those events, but I find it interesting that it perfectly concurs with what you've been writing at the Washington Times. So we're going to definitely have to keep an eye on where exactly they're dropping these people and how they're using them. Very sad in some ways if you think about it.
Absolutely. And one thing we got to remember is for every illegal alien that votes, and there are millions of them, each one takes away my vote. And then the next one takes away your vote and your vote and your vote. So they basically are canceling out votes. This isn't right. And, a few years ago, Dr. Jane, I know we're getting short of time here, but I was in the state of Nevada and I talked to the attorney general and I said, listen, I want to do an investigation and I want to see how many times I can vote.
And how many times?
I said, I'll lay it out. I'll let you know exactly what I do because I don't want to have any extra votes. I just want to do it. And she said, absolutely not.
No.
And I said, why? And she said, because you'll be able to do it.
Ah, see, and that's what we're up against. Well, hopefully the race this week is just the first step in getting a grip back on the American economy and what is truly sacred about the rule of law in our Constitution. Rusty Humphries, we can find your work, of course, at the Washington Times, and we thank you for being with us on Smart Life today.
Thank you.
All right. Don't forget, we'd love to hear from you, too. Go to the Smart Life page, moneybizlife.com. Click on Ask Dr. Gina and send us an email. Or contact me on Facebook or Twitter. I'm always around that way, too.